is where confidence comes from. Okay, so where confidence comes from, and keeping with the legacy and lessons and thinking back about how I grew up, a lot of things come to mind. One, there was always this conversation about abundance. I feel like when I look back, one of the things that you really wanted myself and my brothers and sisters to get is the idea that the universe is abundant and to take up space in the universe. I think that ties very closely to confidence because you really wanted us to reverse, almost like reverse engineer our psychology, but physiology as well, right? So one of the things you said is, open up your hands, like show your palms, open up, put your hands out. And we tied that to, remember we had the periodic table, everything in our room, hydrogen, lithium, beryllium, sodium, magnesium, potassium, go. I remember I used to go through all of it. But in those conversations, we talked about how the universe expanded. And you tied that to the idea of taking up space. And I thought that was interesting. And I honestly think that's one of the main things that really started to change my perspective. And when you talk about confidence, when you're not confident, you shrink, right? You feel like you're taking up too much space. And I think all of it ties together. And so I have more examples, but I wanted to open up to you first. Where do you think confidence really comes from? And how much is learned at home?
Oh, that's a big one. We're confident. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know.
Yep.
I got stumped.
Memory lane. That's memory
Yeah,
lane for you.
yeah. I think confidence comes from a lot of different places, but I think one of the places where confidence comes from is put in the work. If you put the work in, I'll touch on the expansive section that you mentioned. But once you know you put the work in and you've done your homework, you've gone through the hard things, then your confidence start increasing, right? Like your confidence in a lot of ways is like if you were to make a guess, if you were to bet how that something is going to happen, some event A is going to happen, like how um confident you are. I know that's circular. I'm trying to explain confidence and insert confidence in it, but how confident are you that your guess is correct? And you can get that by putting a lot of work. Like if you read, if you learn, if you do a lot of studies, the more you study, it's the more you're expanding yourself. As you said, physiological and psychological. You're psychologically, you're expanding yourself. So confidence comes from this idea, knowing that you can always get bigger or better,
Mm-hmm.
right? So even if you just that one idea, knowing that life wants to live, the more you learn is the more you can learn. So even though there's this thing that I heard about called the Gruber effect, which is slightly different from what we're talking about, but it's the more you know, is the less confident you
Oh, the
you are.
Dunning Kruger.
Yeah,
Yeah, Dunning
that
Kruger effect.
Dunning Kruger effect,
Yeah,
right?
that's
Yeah. Right? So, so that's it's a kind of dichotomy because the more you learn and the more you know is bigger, the more the bigger your frame is getting, right? Your frame is bigger, so you're getting more and more expansive. But at the same time,
mm-hmm.
because you know that the more you learn is the more you can learn. So now you became slightly less confident,
Right.
or less certain. I don't think I should say confident, less certain of the outcome, but more confident of the outcome.
Right. And is it so? I'd ask you. So, is it of the outcome or your ability to adapt? Right. And I think that's something that's within that space too, because you become. Someone said that. Someone said if someone's able to take your confidence, it's actually an old coach of mine. If you remember Danny, he
Oh,
said this
Danny.
too. He said if somebody can take your confidence, it isn't yours. which, which it's always stuck with me to this day. But what I want to ask you too, because another memory that came up, or as you were saying that, was And tell me if you remember wrestling. One of the things is I was really good at wrestling, never lost a wrestling match, but there were certain tournament events that we would have. And I got so confident in my ability that they were starting to come across a different way, right? Cocky and arrogant, right? And I remember at the meets, I was at this point in time throwing people out of the rink. Like there was nobody really in my level, on my level when it came to that. And I remember you pulled me aside and said,
Yeah, I
"Look,
remember.
none of that cocky stuff, none of that. Humble yourself real quick." And I think you always the main point, or one of the things when I look back, no matter how much you learn, you're not better than anybody else. And a lot of the
Exactly.
times as a kid, when I was seeing you say this to me, kids pick up on energy, right? And the energy that you had, I could tell that this was very important for you to have me understand that you're not better than anybody just because, you know, you might know the answer at this point in time. You're faster, you're stronger, whatever it is, whatever realm. Sports is one thing, but you actually cared less about the sports, more about life, right? So I don't want to give that impression there, but that is something that when I think about confidence and where does it really come from, part of me feels like yes, there's an innate level. I do agree with my coach that if somebody can take your confidence, it's not really yours to a point. But where does it really come from? I think it comes from the work, and this is what you were kind of getting at. Did you put
Yeah,
in the work to get there, right?
yeah.
And then
I
eventually
think
you
so.
become confident in not your ability on a specific thing, but your ability to adapt. And I think there's something
Yeah,
about that, about giving yourself grace. And
yeah.
yeah, so that's kind of my thoughts so far. What do you?
No, yeah, to wrap this part up, one of my brothers, Ricky, he would say, um, if somebody asks him, okay, can you fly a plane? The answer is yes. I just need to go learn now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You're talking about the right? Like, can you drive a truck? I remember the first truck driving job I got for Canadian diabetes. They said, can you drive this truck? I said, yes. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So just to touch on your point, the adopt. Yeah, confidence definitely comes from your ability to adopt, but the ability to adopt is also like an offshoot of the work that you put in other things.
Mm-hmm.
And there's belief that it's transferable. Like even in AI, there's this concept of transfer transference. So you'll train one model, for example, let's say Chat GPT, and let's say Chat GPT was trained on one particular data set. Is it transferable? So can it actually make a prediction on a data set that it has not seen? So
Mm-hmm.
what happens there is that the intelligence is transferable. So if a person, I remember when you were learning basketball, I'm telling you, you're going to be good at basketball because you're good at soccer. Because I
I
see,
remember that.
right, that there's a transfer, like it's the same moving position, boom, boom. So if you can just see that this is transferable, so that's where the confidence comes from. If you're really good at something and you can see that being good at this can also make you be good at that, if you can only see that the nuances,
Mm-hmm.
like that these things are not so different, but they are the same at its core, at their core, then you get a lot of confidence. Like I have a lot of confidence, and so do you, on a lot of different things. I don't know if you ever thought about it this way, but if I'm going to learn physics, I just say, if I'm good at math, I'm going to be good at physics. There's just certain inherent stuff that's transferable.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's the idea that it's deeper. For example, if I'm good at coding, I'm going to be good at design. People say, no, they're two different things. But I don't see it like that because a designer and a painter, they pay close attention to detail. It's almost like the same kind of work. If you
Right.
talk to a really good designer, one pixel will piss them off. If the
And
thing is one pixel
modularity and
is a
interdependence, all of that is built, right?
modularity and
The
independence.
weight, where it's positioned within it, where people's eyes are drawn
Right.
to, what are the colors, what has, right? The frequency.
Exactly.
Then you
Exactly.
get into the Fibonacci
Exactly.
and how you start to see the design
And
of
you
things
start seeing
all
the whole
right.
Exactly. So the confidence comes from the ability to recognize that whether expressed or implied. So not
Mm-hmm.
because you can't articulate it doesn't mean that you're not using it. My thing is always to try to articulate, to find out all of those things so I can articulate them for other people. Because there's a lot of things people are doing really, really well for themselves, but they don't know how to articulate to others what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So the confidence comes from really putting the work in one area and recognize implicitly or explicitly that it's transferable in other areas. But it doesn't mean that because you're a good basketball player, you're going to be a good track and field
Right.
immediately. I'm
Right.
saying maybe the work ethic. There's certain things there that you could be the best basketball player, the soccer player could be
Mm-hmm.
because he applied most of the. I think like Kobe, if Kobe were to play soccer, he would be a really good soccer player,
And he did
running the
actually.
position,
Interestingly enough,
right?
that's the sport that he played before. But uh, I'll even go a bit further, and it's true. A lot of the times when some of these like Fortune 500 companies, they want to see that you've been able to have a full portfolio, right? You didn't just do one thing.
Yeah,
They want to see that
yeah,
you've played sports or you've dived into other things and your other interests. Not necessarily because that's a one-to-one mapping. This specifically relates to the job, but it's probably due to that transferable skill. But it also speaks to your ability to adapt and really to the confidence that you have, right? And I
yeah,
think
yeah.
I do have one last question. We'll have one last quick question I want to ask you on this topic here is, do you think younger generations misunderstand confidence as arrogance, or are they just expressing it differently?
No, that's another
Right?
deep
Like,
one.
are they
Yeah.
right?
Um,
Do you have to fake the idea of faking it to make it? What do you make of that idea that
yeah, right. I've Yeah, I think in social media you can fake it till you make it because it's just social media, and I think most of that is just faking it. Most things most things you can't fake it till you make it. You have to do it, practice it, get
hmm
good at it, make a lot of mistakes, and so on until you get good at it. That's different from faking it until you make it.
hmm
So faking it and social media till you make it seems to be possible because I could fake that I have a lot of money, and then people believe that I have money on social media and start buying my courses, and now I have a lot of money. But I think in other things you can't do that. For example, you can't fake that you're good at AI without doing AI until you make it.
hmm
Right? You can't fake that you're a good trader. You would know this more than I do. Um, until you have to trade, lose some money,
right.
no, right? I should right until you make it. So back to the question that you asked. I guess you're asking if their level of expressing confidence is being misconstrued
And where does it
as
come from? Where does it come from?
and yeah,
Yeah.
I think we I just don't want to use one. You know what I mean? Like to um look at a few examples and then try to pretend like it's the whole the entire set.
hmm
um I think a lot of cases they're faking, they're just fake. Let's take out the fake people out. um if they're if they're actually putting the work and they're putting the work, and from the work they're doing something that a lot of people are saying is bravado or they're just showing off and all that stuff, I think it's confidence, right?
hmm
Because you can have confidence. There's a lot of things that can be true at the same time, and you don't have to agree with them, right? So you can have a very smart evil person. You understand?
hmm
When you can have a very confident person that's getting under the skin of a lot of people, and he's show off, but he's also confident. So to be a show off person doesn't negate or stop you from being a confident person. You can
Right.
be those two things at the same time, right?
Mayweather, right?
So if Mayweather, yeah, he's so like over the top show off, but he has never lost a match as far as
And
I
look at
know,
his
right?
work ethic. He goes to the
And the work
club.
ethic.
You can go to the club, but he's 2 3 a.m. Or when he was fighting 50-0, 51-0.
Exactly.
He no drinking, discipline.
Rodman,
It was there.
Desmond
Yeah.
Rodman from
Yeah.
my era,
Dennis Rodman.
right?
Yeah.
Dennis Rodman,
Yep.
right? Even Allen Iverson, practice. I don't need to. You understand?
Right.
I'm I'm the guy, right? Like that's confidence. But to somebody else, but he put the work in though.
Right.
So he can put the work in. You know what I mean? So I try to answer that question, but it's a very good question. I think. I think it's both, but I don't think we should put in that same set those people who are just faking it. Those are fake people that should stop and go do something. You understand?
Do
Like
the work.
stop faking
You
it.
can't skip, as you said, you can't
Um,
skip time, right? That's the thing.
yeah, yeah, you can't. Yeah, so that's my answer to that one.
Yeah.